Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Your life is already happening without your permission. The question isn't, are you ready? The real question is, what will you do with what's already in your hands? Most people spend their entire lives rehearsing. They wait for the right time, the right mood, the right tools, the right sign from the universe. And while they wait, their potential quietly expires. Waiting is not harmless. Waiting is a decision to stay exactly where you are. The truth is simple and uncomfortable. Your journey begins right here, with this version of you, in this imperfect moment. Not when life calms down, not when motivation magically appears, not when you feel more confident. Now. You are not stuck because you lack ability. You are stuck because you keep postponing the decision to begin. Your current situation, messy or overwhelming as it may feel, already contains everything you need to move. You don't need a new identity. You don't need permission. You don't need everyone to understand or approve. Approval is a luxury. Responsibility is your fuel. Your brain rewires itself through repeated choices. Your life responds to the energy you act from, not the fantasies you daydream about. 1 hour of real undistracted action can shift more than months of wishing. This audiobook is your process of taking your attention and your power back. You will learn how to stop abandoning yourself, how to work with what you already have, and how to build momentum through small, deliberate, disciplined moves. Your circumstances may be outside your control, but your direction isn't. This is your turning point. The moment you decide that where you are is no longer an excuse, but the place you finally begin. If you're ready to rise above the noise, like the video, it tells YouTube you're choosing awareness over autopilot. Subscribe now and don't miss the next chapter in your evolution. And remember, the deepest transformation belongs to those who stay until the very end. Chapter 1. Own exactly where you stand. Without excuses, without blame. There comes a moment in every life when you stop looking around for someone to blame and finally look inward. Not to punish yourself, not to judge yourself, but to recognize the truth. Your life can only change from the place you're standing right now, not from the place you wish you were, not from the place you once were. From here, exactly here. And that is good news. Most people never understand this. They waste years dragging their past into every new day. They replay every mistake. They rehearse every wound. They treat old pain like it's still happening right now. And without realizing it, they let yesterday hijack today. But here's the truth. People don't like to hear. You cannot build a new future with a mind still controlled by your past. You can carry the lesson, yes, but you cannot keep carrying the identity. Your starting point is not your disadvantage. It is your foundation. When you look at it clearly, without excuses and without blame, you reclaim the one thing that changes everything: agency. Too often, people confuse explanation with responsibility. Yes, your childhood shaped you. Yes, life hurt you. Yes, people failed you. But the moment that becomes your identity, you lose your power. What happened to you is real, but what you do next is your responsibility. Responsibility is not about guilt. Responsibility is about control. When you take ownership of where you stand, emotionally, financially, mentally, spiritually, you gain access to the steering wheel of your own future. Nothing moves until you do. Nothing changes until you take the keys out of blame's hands and put them back into yours. So start here. This is where I am. This is what I have. This is what I can control. When you declare that, honestly and without theatrics, something inside you shifts. You stop living as a passenger in your own story and start living like the author again. But let's address the truth people often hide from. It's much easier to blame than to build. Blame gives you temporary comfort. Building requires long-term effort. Blame feels righteous. Responsibility feels humbling. Blame gives you sympathy. Responsibility gives you power. And power is heavier than pity. It requires action. When you stand in full ownership of your reality, you are not saying the past didn't affect you. You are saying it doesn't get to dictate who you become. You are acknowledging your scars without letting them drive the car. Because here's what's real. Everyone has scars. Everyone has regrets. Everyone has a history that didn't go as planned. But the people who rise, the people who transform, are the ones who stop using those scars as an explanation for why they can't grow. Instead, they use them as proof that they are capable of healing, evolving, and rebuilding. Owning where you are doesn't require confidence. It requires honesty. So, let's get honest. If your discipline is weak, admit it. If your habits are messy, admit it. If your mindset is negative, admit it. If you've been avoiding responsibility, admit it. Not for shame, but for clarity. You cannot improve what you deny. You cannot strengthen what you refuse to see. There's a maturity in saying, yes, I contributed to where I am today. Not all of it, but some of it. Not intentionally, but realistically. And that admission is not the end of your power. It's the beginning of it. Every person who ever rebuilt their life started with the same sentence. This is where I am, and this is where I begin. They didn't wait for forgiveness. They didn't wait for validation. They didn't wait for the perfect moment. They didn't wait for fear to disappear. They started with their messy mind. They started with their tired body. They started with their limited resources. They started while the past was still echoing in their head. And because they started, everything changed. Remember, you don't need the perfect background to move forward. You don't need the right timing. You don't need ideal circumstances. You only need to stop running from your own reality. Your starting point is not a punishment. It's a position of power. Think of it this way. A GPS cannot guide you if you lie about your current location. Life works the same. You can't move forward from a fantasy version of where you are. You can only move forward from the truth. So what is the truth of your life right now? Not the dramatized version, not the minimized version, not the one you tell people to gain sympathy, not the one you hide to appear strong. The real one, the honest one, the unedited one. Look at it, face it, own it, not with emotion, with clarity. Because once you truly see your starting point, the fear of the unknown becomes smaller than the fear of staying the same. The weight of your excuses becomes heavier than the weight of your potential. The comfort of denial becomes less appealing than the discomfort of growth. Owning where you are is not a step. It is the foundation. Without it, any change you try to make will crumble. With it, you become unstoppable. Your past does not get the final say. Your excuses do not get to define you. Your circumstances do not determine your future. Your decisions do. And the first decision is this: I will work with the truth of my life, not the story I've been telling myself to avoid it. Right here, right now, right where you are. This is where the real transformation begins. Chapter 2. Start small. The first win is everything. Most people think their life will change the moment they make a big move, a bold leap, a dramatic transformation, a fresh start so powerful that everything before it suddenly becomes irrelevant. That fantasy keeps people stuck for years, because waiting for the big moment stops you from doing the small thing that actually creates change. The truth is simple. Your life shifts the moment you do one thing that moves you forward. Not 10 things, not a perfect plan. One thing. When your mind feels overwhelmed, when your emotions feel heavy, when your life feels out of control, your brain shuts down. It's not because you're weak. It's because the human mind isn't designed to process chaos. But there is one way to break through that fog. Create one small win. A tiny act that reminds your brain that you're not powerless. Clean one corner of your room. Write one honest sentence in your journal. Drink one glass of water with intention. Go for a 5-minute walk without your phone. Do one task you've been avoiding. It doesn't matter how small it looks to others. It matters that you do it. Because that single action sends a message through your entire nervous system. I still have control. We often underestimate the power of small wins because they don't look impressive. They're not Instagram-worthy. They don't make anyone say, wow. But your life isn't built on wow moments. It's built on quiet completions. The tiny decisions that no one sees but you feel. Small wins rebuild your identity, one brick at a time. You stop seeing yourself as someone who's stuck and start seeing yourself as someone who follows through. That shift is everything. Because once you believe you can follow through on small things, you begin to trust yourself with bigger things. You don't need to feel motivated first. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. Clean your desk, and suddenly you feel clearer. Do a short workout, and suddenly you feel stronger. Speak up once, and suddenly you feel braver. Your brain responds to results, not intentions. And the moment you complete something, anything, you experience a psychological flip. You go from I can't to maybe I can to I did. That progression rebuilds confidence from the inside. Most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they aim too big too soon. They try to fix their entire life in a weekend, burn out, collapse, and then call themselves failures. You don't fix a messy life with dramatic effort. You fix a messy life with small consistency. When you focus on one doable action at a time, you quiet the noise in your mind. You create clarity. You generate momentum. And momentum is the real secret. Once momentum starts, you don't need to rely on willpower. Your actions begin to carry you. Think of your life like a heavy door. If you try to push it open all at once, it feels impossible. But if you nudge it just a little, over and over, suddenly it swings open, and you wonder why it felt so hard before. That's the power of one small thing done consistently. Pick something today, not your biggest problem, not your hardest challenge, something manageable, something you can finish. Because unfinished tasks drain you more than difficult tasks. When you complete even one small thing, you reclaim mental energy that was trapped under avoidance. Avoidance grows anxiety. Action shrinks it. If you've been feeling lost, overwhelmed, or behind, don't try to fix everything. Fix one thing. Bring order to one part of your life. Give your brain proof that you're not stuck. You're moving. Life doesn't change when everything becomes easier. Life changes when you decide to take one step in the direction you've been avoiding. That step is your entry point into a different identity. Someone who acts, someone who follows through, someone who improves. Small wins matter because they create a pattern A pattern creates identity, and identity shapes destiny. Choose one thing. Do it fully. Let that win be your spark. Then tomorrow, do one more, and one more after that. That's how momentum begins. That's how your life starts to turn, not through miracles, but through small, honest victories that stack up until you no longer recognize the person you used to be. Your job isn't to impress anyone. Your job is to generate movement, and movement always starts with one small win. Chapter 3. Tell yourself the truth, even when it stings. There is a specific kind of honesty that changes your life. Not the honesty you use to look humble, not the honesty you tell people to sound mature. This honesty is private, silent, sharp. It's the truth you admit to yourself when there are no excuses left to hide behind. Most people avoid that truth because it's uncomfortable. It forces you to confront your patterns, your habits, your fears, and your role in your own stagnation. It's easier to pretend, easier to say you're fine, easier to move through life on autopilot, distracting yourself with noise so you never have to sit alone with what's real. But pretending doesn't change anything. It only protects the version of you that's holding you back. Your life begins to shift the moment you stop lying to yourself. Maybe you've been lazy. Maybe you've been undisciplined. Maybe you've let people take advantage of you. Maybe you've been living below your potential. Maybe you've been telling yourself convenient stories instead of the truth. Facing these realities isn't comfortable, but comfort has never been the path to growth. The truth you avoid is exactly the truth you need. You can't build a strong life on top of denial. You can't grow from a foundation you refuse to look at. You can only transform what you are willing to acknowledge. The truth might sting, but that sting is your awakening. It is your signal that something deeper needs your attention. Honesty with yourself is not self-criticism, it's self-respect. When you admit, I haven't been trying, or I've been sabotaging myself, or I'm the one getting in my own way, you're not tearing yourself down. You're giving yourself a chance to rise. Most people blame circumstances. They blame childhood. They blame other people. They blame timing. But once you strip all of that away, what's left is the truth. Your habits are shaping your life more than your history. You don't fix your life by avoiding the real problem. You fix it by facing it. Think about the patterns that keep repeating in your life. The same disappointments, the same outcomes, the same cycles. You know them well. They feel familiar. But familiarity is not the same as fate. Those cycles continue because there is a truth within them that you've been avoiding. Maybe you avoid conflict because you want to be liked. Maybe you procrastinate because you're afraid of discovering your limits. Maybe you stay in comfort because success scares you more than failure. Maybe you numb yourself because feeling everything at once feels overwhelming. When you finally face the truth, you reclaim the power to change it. The version of you who avoids the truth is scared. The version of you who faces it is dangerous. Dangerous to your excuses, to your stagnation, to your old identity. The people who grow the fastest are not the ones with the most talent. They are the ones with the most honesty. They look in the mirror without hiding. They say, I'm not where I want to be, and I know why. They don't sugarcoat it. They don't soften it. They say it, feel it, and use it. Yes, honesty is uncomfortable. But discomfort is the beginning of transformation. It's the friction that sharpens your character and strengthens your discipline. When you tell yourself the truth, you stop wasting time. You stop repeating the same mistakes. You stop running from the same feelings. You stop drifting through the same cycles. The moment you get real with yourself is the moment confusion fades and clarity enters. Because clarity doesn't come from thinking. Clarity comes from truth, and truth gives you direction. Once you see what's real, your decisions become easier. You stop entertaining what drains you. You stop tolerating what breaks you. You stop participating in situations that contradict your growth. You start doing the work you've been avoiding. You start taking yourself seriously. Being honest with yourself doesn't mean being harsh. It means being precise. It means saying, "This behavior is hurting me. This habit is keeping me stuck. This pattern is not who I want to be." Truth is not your enemy. Avoidance is. Avoidance keeps you weak. Avoidance keeps you small. Avoidance keeps you repeating the same year over and over and calling it a life. Honesty, even when it hurts, frees you. It frees your mind. It frees your energy. It frees your future. Once the truth is out, you're no longer carrying the weight of pretending. You're no longer wasting energy maintaining a lie. You can breathe again. You can think clearly again. You can act with purpose again. The strongest version of you is not the one who feels nothing. It's the one who feels everything and still chooses to move forward. So sit with your truth. Don't run from it. Let it challenge you. Let it stretch you. Let it guide you. Let it show you what needs to change. Because the moment you choose truth over avoidance, your life stops repeating and starts evolving. Chapter 4. Stop waiting for perfect. Work with what's real. One of the biggest traps people fall into is believing that life will finally begin once everything feels perfect. When the timing is better. When the energy is right. When you have more money, more confidence, more clarity, more motivation. But perfection is not a beginning point. It's a fantasy. And chasing it keeps you stuck. Perfection is the most convincing form of procrastination. It makes you feel responsible while doing nothing. It convinces you that you're preparing when you're actually avoiding. It lets you delay your life under the illusion of high standards. But real standards are not measured by how perfectly you start. They're measured by how consistently you continue. Success does not come to the person who waits for flawless conditions. It comes to the person who is willing to start in imperfect conditions. The person who works with what's real instead of getting lost in what's ideal. Life is happening right now. Your growth is available right now. And the tools you have right now are enough to begin. People often say, "I'll start when I feel ready." But readiness is not a feeling. It's a decision, a commitment, a declaration that your desire to grow is stronger than your desire to stay comfortable. If you wait until you feel ready, you'll spend your entire life waiting. The truth is, you don't need perfect clarity to begin. You don't need the entire plan. You don't need the full picture. You just need the next step. Perfection wants you to figure out everything before you move. Progress only requires you to do something with what you already have. Look at your life honestly. What do you have today? A little time, a little energy, a little experience, a little courage. Use that. Big achievements are built from small, imperfect actions repeated consistently. People overestimate the importance of perfection and underestimate the power of daily motion. Motion reveals the path. Action generates clarity. You figure things out by doing, not dreaming. Every person you admire began messy, awkward, uncertain. They didn't wait for confidence. They built confidence by acting without it. Success is not a clean process. It is a chaotic, confusing, unpredictable unfolding that becomes clear only in hindsight. The people who go far are the ones who accept this truth. You don't get to skip the messy beginning. You don't get to avoid the awkward middle. You don't get to bypass the part where you don't know what you're doing. The goal is not to start flawlessly. The goal is to start honestly. Work with what's real. Work with your current level of discipline. Work with your current level of focus. Work with your current set of skills. Work with your current circumstances. You are not lowering your standards. You are grounding them. You are saying, "This is where I am, and this is enough to begin." That humility is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's maturity. It's strength. Because working with what's real requires courage. Anyone can chase perfection. Only a disciplined mind can work with reality. You can rest when you're tired, but don't quit. You can simplify your day if your focus is weak, but don't stop. You can adjust your approach if something isn't working, but don't walk away from your goal. Doing what you can with what you have isn't settling. It's strategy. There are people who built entire empires with less than what you have today. Not because they were special, but because they refused to wait for ideal conditions. They chose action over perfection. They chose progress over pride. They chose motion over fantasy. Perfection is loud. Progress is quiet. Perfection is aesthetic. Progress is messy. Perfection is comforting. Progress is uncomfortable. But only one of them changes your life. Don't overthink the next step. Take it. Don't rewrite your plan for the 10th time. Execute it. Don't wait for confidence. Build it. Don't chase the perfect moment. Use the moment you have. Your life will never feel perfect enough to begin. So begin anyway. Begin with the doubt. Begin with the fear. Begin with the uncertainty. Begin with the incomplete plan. Begin with the imperfect tools. Because perfection doesn't create momentum, movement does. And once you start moving, once you commit to showing up despite the messiness, the path forward begins to reveal itself. You gain clarity. You gain resilience. You gain self-trust. You stop living in your head and start living in your life. Nothing is missing. Nothing is too late. Nothing is wasted. This moment is enough. You are enough. Start with what is real and keep going. Chapter 5. Build daily wins that make you feel capable. There is a specific kind of confidence that can't be faked. You don't get it from compliments, from motivation videos, or from imagining a better version of yourself. Real confidence comes from evidence. Evidence that you show up, you finish things, you honor your word, and you move your life forward, even in small ways. Daily wins are that evidence. Not big wins, not life-changing wins. The small ones. The ones nobody sees. The ones that don't look impressive on the outside, but shift everything on the inside. These small wins slowly reshape how you see yourself, and how you see yourself determines everything. Your discipline, your choices, your resilience, your future. Most people drift through their days with no sense of direction. They wake up, go through the same motions, react to whatever happens, and end the day feeling like nothing changed. When days blur together like that, you start to lose the sense that your actions matter. You stop expecting anything from yourself. You stop caring. You start living on autopilot. Daily wins break that cycle. A daily win is simple. Do something today that makes you respect yourself more than you did yesterday. Make your bed. Drink water instead of soda. Work out for 20 minutes. Finish one task you've been avoiding. Read 5 pages of a book instead of scrolling. Stick to your schedule. Say no when you want to say yes, just to avoid discomfort. Focus for 1 hour without distraction. These don't look like much, but they build something powerful inside you. Self-trust. Self-trust is built the same way a relationship is built, through repeated proof. When you follow through on the commitments you make to yourself, your inner world shifts. You stop feeling helpless. You stop feeling like life is something that happens to you. You start feeling like you're the one steering again. Most people underestimate how damaging it is to break promises to themselves. Every time you say you'll start tomorrow and don't, you weaken your identity. Every time you say you'll change but don't act, you erode your self-respect. That erosion shows up everywhere, in your energy, in your confidence, in your willingness to try. Daily wins reverse that erosion. Each small completion tells your mind, I can rely on myself. That is priceless. That is power. That is momentum. Momentum doesn't come from hype. It comes from completion, from follow-through, from doing exactly what you said you'd do, even when it's boring, inconvenient, or unglamorous. And you don't need a huge list. You don't need to do everything. Just pick a small number of wins and commit to them fully. Completion is what matters, not size. When you finish something, even something tiny, you create a mental shift. Your brain registers it. You feel lighter. You feel clearer. You feel more in control. This feeling becomes addictive in the healthiest way. It fuels the desire to do more, which fuels more action, which fuels more confidence. This is how you rebuild your identity from the inside out. One mistake people make is not acknowledging their wins. They finish something and immediately move on without noticing it. But your mind needs recognition. It needs to know your effort mattered. When you ignore your wins, you rob yourself of momentum. So pause. Celebrate your wins, not with rewards, but with awareness. Say, I did that. Write it down. Let it matter. Because the more you honor your wins, the more your brain looks for opportunities to create more. It's a psychological snowball. Daily wins also protect you on bad days. Not every day will be strong. Not every day will be productive. Some days you'll feel tired, unfocused, stressed, or overwhelmed. That's exactly when small wins matter even more. They keep you tethered to progress when everything else feels heavy. Small wins make sure you never drift so far that you can't find your way back. If you want to build a strong mindset, don't aim for perfection. Aim for consistency. Let your identity be built on showing up again and again, no matter how small the actions are. Because when you stack enough daily wins, something incredible happens. You start walking differently. You start thinking differently. You stop negotiating with your goals. You stop tolerating what drains you. You stop accepting the version of yourself that settles. You begin to rise. Daily wins are how you build the version of you that is capable, disciplined, grounded, and strong. Not by changing everything at once, but by proving to yourself, every single day, that you are someone who takes action. Pick your win for today. Do it with intention. Finish it fully. Then take a moment to feel what that means. Not just another item checked off a list, but proof that you're still moving forward. This is how you transform your life. One win today, another tomorrow, and another after that. Brick by brick, choice by choice, win by win. Chapter 6. Let go of regret and focus on right now. Regret is a quiet thief. It doesn't scream. It doesn't break down your doors. It slips into your mind slowly, replaying the same moments you wish you could rewrite, again and again, until you start believing your best days are behind you. Regret convinces you that the past is more important than the present. And when that happens, your life stops moving. You can't build a future while your attention is trapped in yesterday. Most people don't realize how much energy regret drains from their lives. You carry it like it's part of your identity. You talk about your past mistakes as if they define your worth. You revisit old decisions as if reliving them will somehow change the outcome. But regret doesn't give you clarity. It gives you paralysis. You cannot change what already happened, but you can change what happens next. You are not the same person you were when you made those choices. You have more awareness now, more experience, more emotional depth. Punishing yourself for things you didn't understand at the time is not growth. It's self-sabotage. Growth is acknowledging the mistake, taking the lesson, and refusing to drag the pain into your future. Regret doesn't last because the past was terrible. Regret lasts because you keep feeding it your attention. Every moment you spend looking backward is a moment stolen from what's possible right now. The present becomes invisible when you keep comparing it to a past you can't fix or a future that hasn't arrived. That's how people end up living entire lives in mental places that don't exist. If you slow down long enough to actually look at the moment in front of you, you'd see that there is still opportunity. There is still space to grow. There is still time to become someone you respect. But you cannot do that while holding the past hostage in your mind. Letting go of regret is not forgetting what happened. It's releasing the emotional punishment attached to it. It's saying, I see the lesson, and I choose to move forward. You're not erasing your history. You're ending the cycle of reliving it. Reflection is healthy. Rumination is not. Reflection guides you. Rumination traps you. To move forward, you must shift your focus away from what could have been and toward what still can be. Ask yourself, what can I do today that matters? What step can I take that moves my life forward? What conversation can I have? What habit can I improve? What choice can I make that supports who I want to become? These questions bring you back into the present, the only place where change actually happens. If you've been carrying regret for years, here's the truth you may have never allowed yourself to hear. You have permission to forgive yourself. The version of you who made those decisions was surviving with the awareness they had. You know more now. You've lived more now. And that means you can choose differently now. Healing doesn't come from shame. Healing comes from responsibility. Not responsibility for the past, but for the present. Your future will not be built by beating yourself up. It will be built by showing up differently today. When you give your full attention to this moment, you reclaim your power. You stop leaking energy into memories you cannot change. You begin to build a life rooted in who you are becoming, not who you used to be. Letting go is uncomfortable because regret feels familiar. Pain becomes a routine. But familiarity is not the same as peace. The hardest part is loosening your grip. The moment you stop clinging to what went wrong, space opens for what can go right. You can't move forward while gripping the past with both hands. One of them has to let go. And when you let go, you're not betraying your past self. You're honoring your future self. You're saying, I choose to grow from this instead of drown in it. Every moment of presence you practice is an investment in a better future. Every decision you make today is a vote for who you want to be tomorrow. Every action you take now becomes a brick in the foundation of a life that no longer revolves around regret. Let go, not because the past didn't matter, but because you matter more. You deserve a life built from awareness, not avoidance, from choice, not chains, from presence, not punishment. Your past shaped you, but it does not get to define what happens next. You do. Chapter 7. Use your pain to build your inner strength. Pain is one of the few experiences every human shares. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, or what you believe. Pain finds you. It shows up in different forms: heartbreak, failure, loss, disappointment, betrayal, exhaustion, confusion. You don't choose it. It arrives uninvited, without warning, and without asking whether you're ready. But here's what separates people who grow from people who collapse under their circumstances. It's not the presence of pain, it's the response to it. Pain can break you, or it can build you. It can trap you, or it can teach you. It can silence you, or it can strengthen you. The difference comes down to one choice. Will you run from it, or will you face it? Pain feels heavy because it carries information. It's your mind and body signaling that something needs attention, something needs healing, something needs changing. Pain isn't a punishment. It's a message. When you stop seeing it as an enemy and start treating it as a teacher, everything about your inner world begins to shift. Most people try to avoid pain at all costs. They distract themselves. They numb themselves. They fill their days with noise so they don't have to sit with what hurts. But avoidance doesn't reduce pain. It magnifies it. What you run from grows stronger. What you face loses its power. Strength doesn't come from pretending you're untouched by life. Strength comes from acknowledging your wounds and choosing to rise anyway. When you face your pain head-on, you build resilience, the ability to stand up again no matter how many times life knocks you down. Resilience isn't a natural talent. You're not born with it. You build it through experience, through struggle, through moments where you thought you couldn't keep going but did anyway. Think about the hardest things you've lived through, the moments that felt unbearable, the seasons where you questioned whether you'd ever feel like yourself again. You survived those moments, not because they were easy, but because something inside you refused to quit. That part of you, the part that fought through the pain, that's your inner strength. And it grows every time you choose to face what hurts. Pain can reveal things about you that success never will. It shows you your limits, so you learn how to expand them. It exposes your fears, so you learn how to confront them. It highlights what matters, so you stop wasting time on what doesn't. You learn more about who you are in times of struggle than in times of comfort. Comfort doesn't force you to grow. Pain does. There is a version of you that only emerges when life pushes you to your edges. A version that is tougher, wiser, more compassionate, more focused, more grounded. That version is not created in easy seasons. It is forged in difficulty. When pain arrives, don't immediately ask, "Why me?" Ask, "What is this trying to teach me? What strength is this building? What part of me is being reshaped? What version of me will come out on the other side?" This perspective doesn't erase the hurt, but it gives the hurt meaning. And meaning is what transforms suffering into strength. You don't have to pretend to be okay. You don't have to hide what hurts. You don't have to carry it alone. Sharing your pain with someone you trust can lighten the weight. Speaking it out loud can reduce its grip. Pain isolates, but connection heals. Remember this: your pain is not your identity. Your pain is not your destiny. Your pain is not the whole story. It's a chapter. A difficult one, yes, but still just a chapter. What comes next is shaped by how you respond. You can allow pain to close you off, or you can let it open you. You can let it harden you, or you can let it strengthen you. You can let it make you bitter, or you can let it make you wise. When you choose to face your pain instead of running from it, you reclaim control. You prove to yourself that you are capable of walking through fire and coming out more resilient than before. This doesn't mean you won't feel fear or sadness or doubt. Strength is not the absence of emotion. Strength is the decision to keep moving despite the emotion. It's choosing healing over hiding, growth over escape, purpose over paralysis. Pain is part of life. But suffering, long-term, repeating, identity-shaping suffering, is often the result of avoiding the work that pain is calling you to do. When you meet your pain with courage, something shifts inside you. You become someone who can handle more, someone who doesn't break at the first sign of difficulty, someone who knows they can trust their own strength. Life will always bring challenges, but once you learn to use pain instead of fear it, you become unshakable. There is a stronger version of you waiting on the other side of the pain you've been avoiding. The question is not whether you can reach that version. The question is whether you're willing to walk through the discomfort to meet them. Chapter 8. Make progress, even when your mind fights you. There will be days when your mind becomes your biggest obstacle. Days when you can feel the resistance before you even open your eyes. Days when simple tasks feel heavy, when your thoughts spiral, when your motivation disappears, and your inner voice whispers every excuse it can find. This doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It means you're human. The mind is designed to protect you, not to push you. Its default setting is safety, comfort, predictability. So anytime you try to grow, improve, or challenge yourself, your mind interprets it as a threat. It doesn't care about your goals. It cares about keeping things familiar, even if familiar is exactly what's keeping you stuck. That's why progress often feels uncomfortable. You're working against your brain's natural instinct to avoid anything uncertain, difficult, or new. But the power of your life is decided in the moments when your mind resists and you choose to move anyway. Resistance isn't a stop sign. It's a signal that you're entering territory where growth is possible. You don't need to eliminate resistance to make progress. You need to learn how to act in spite of it. Start with this truth. You don't have to feel like it to do it. You don't have to be motivated to take action. You don't have to be confident to begin. You don't have to be ready to show up. Motion comes first. The feeling follows. When your mind fights you, shrink the task. Break it down so small that resistance loses its power. You don't need to clean the whole room. Just start with one corner. You don't need a full workout. Just 5 minutes. You don't need to plan your entire future. Just decide what you'll do in the next hour. Your mind can argue with a big task. It can't argue with something tiny. Once you start, even with the smallest action, your chemistry changes. Your brain releases dopamine not when you finish something, but when you begin. That shift in your biology reduces resistance and builds momentum. Think of progress as pushing a heavy wheel. At first, it barely moves. You push and nothing seems to happen. That's resistance. But once the wheel starts rolling, even a little, it becomes easier to keep it going. Movement creates more movement. This is why the hardest part is often the first step. Not because the task itself is impossible, but because you're breaking through mental friction. On the days your mind feels loud and chaotic, simplify your expectations. Lower the bar so you can walk over it. Don't aim for perfection. Aim for completion. There's a quiet kind of discipline that matters more than any burst of motivation. Showing up even when you don't feel like it. Showing up when your mood is low. Showing up when you're tired. Showing up when everything in your mind says, "Not today." That's how resilience is built. That's how identity is built. That's how success is built. People often think discipline is about being strict or rigid, But real discipline is compassionate. It understands your mind will have difficult days, so it creates systems that still allow you to make progress. Systems that carry you when motivation doesn't. Try this. Create a minimum version of your habits, a minimum workout, a minimum writing session, a minimum work block. Something so small, you can do it even on your worst days, because showing up, even at 20%, keeps you aligned with the person you want to become. Miss one day, and nothing happens. Miss several, and your identity slips. But show up consistently, even imperfectly, and your identity strengthens. And once your identity shifts, your life shifts. Your mind will always try to protect you from discomfort. But you are not your thoughts. You are the one who chooses whether to obey them. You are the one who decides whether to listen to resistance or move through it. When your mind says, "I don't want to," answer with, "I'll start anyway." When your mind says, "It's too hard," answer with, "I'll do a small version." When your mind says, "I can't," answer with, "Let me prove myself wrong." Progress is not about eliminating the voice of resistance. It's about refusing to let it dictate your behavior. The strongest people aren't the ones who feel motivated all the time. They're the ones who can act even when motivation disappears. They're the ones who don't wait for the perfect mindset. They're the ones who move forward while their mind is still negotiating. You don't need a different mind to make progress. You need a different response to the mind you have. Every time you take action despite resistance, you weaken its control. Every time you move anyway, you expand your capacity. Every time you show up, even halfway, you build the kind of strength that lasts. Your mind will fight you. Move anyway. That's how you win. Chapter 9. Find your rhythm and keep showing up silently. There is a rare kind of power that comes from quiet consistency, not the loud bursts of motivation, not the dramatic declarations, not the moments when you feel unstoppable for a day and burned out the next. The real power, the kind that builds a life, is found in rhythm. Rhythm is not speed. Rhythm is not intensity. Rhythm is not perfection. Rhythm is steady. Rhythm is sustainable. Rhythm is yours. Most people never find their rhythm because they spend their lives chasing someone else's pace. They look at what others are accomplishing, how fast they're moving, how much they seem to be achieving. So they sprint, they push, they burn out, and then they quit. Not because they lacked potential, but because they never learned the simple art of finding their pace. Your life changes when you stop chasing noise and start honoring your rhythm. Your rhythm is built from understanding yourself, your energy, your strengths, your triggers, your focus patterns. It's knowing when you're sharp and when you're overwhelmed. It's building routines that support you instead of routines that punish you. There is nothing glamorous about rhythm, nothing flashy, nothing social media worthy. But it is effective. It is powerful. It is what builds empires quietly. When you find your rhythm, you stop needing external validation. You stop needing applause, permission, or approval. You don't need to announce every step you're taking. You don't need to prove you're working. Your work becomes the proof. Quiet work is the most dangerous type of work because no one sees it coming until results appear, undeniable and unshakable. Showing up silently is not about hiding. It's about refusing to waste energy proving yourself. It's about choosing growth over attention. It's about building without distraction. Most people crave recognition. They want to be seen improving. They want credit for the effort, the discipline, the struggle. But the people who grow the fastest are usually the ones working when no one is watching. They're not obsessing over how their progress looks. They're focused on the progress itself. Rhythm is about lowering the emotional noise in your life. It's about creating stability so your mind can stay steady. It's about making your daily actions automatic, predictable, reliable. When you build a rhythm, you no longer rely on motivation. You rely on structure. Motivation gets you excited. Rhythm gets you results. Consistency becomes easier because you've built an environment that supports you instead of fighting you. Your habits become anchors. They hold you steady even when your emotions fluctuate. To keep your rhythm, you must protect it. From distractions, from comparison, from people who move chaotically and expect you to match their chaos. Not everyone will understand your quiet dedication. Some will misinterpret it. Some will think you're not doing enough simply because you're not broadcasting everything you're doing. Let them think what they want. The results will speak louder than any explanation ever could. Rhythm requires patience. It requires embracing a slower transformation, one that builds layer by layer instead of sprinting and collapsing. It requires trusting that small, steady actions compound into something extraordinary. You won't always see progress while you're building rhythm. Sometimes it feels like nothing is moving, but everything is moving. Every silent day of effort is a brick placed. Every routine kept is another step forward. Every moment you show up when no one is watching is a vote for the person you're becoming. Eventually, those small efforts stack into a life. A strong one, a focused one, a balanced one. Your rhythm doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be yours. It doesn't need to be fast. It needs to be steady. It doesn't need to be impressive. It needs to be consistent. You're not creating a moment of greatness. You're creating a lifestyle that produces greatness again and again. So keep showing up silently. Keep honoring your pace. Keep protecting your rhythm like it's something sacred, because it is. And one day, the world will see what you've been building all along. Not because you shouted about it, but because the results will be too loud to ignore. Chapter 10. Become the person who never gives up early. There is nothing easier than quitting early. Most people do it without even realizing it. They stop the moment things get heavy. They stop when results don't come fast enough. They stop when discomfort shows up, or doubt creeps in, or the path becomes uncertain. Quitting early is the most common habit in the world. Persistence is the rarest, and that rarity is exactly why persistence is so powerful. Becoming the kind of person who never gives up early doesn't mean you never feel tired. It doesn't mean you never feel discouraged. It doesn't mean you're fearless or endlessly confident. It means one thing. You don't let temporary feelings decide your long-term future. Anyone can keep going when they feel motivated. Anyone can keep going when things are working. Anyone can keep going when the path is easy. But the person who never gives up early keeps going when everything feels slow, confusing, frustrating, or invisible. They keep going when progress is silent. They keep going even when no one claps, no one notices, and no one understands. To become that person, you need to make peace with difficulty. Not every battle in life is won by strategy. Many are won by endurance, by refusing to bend when pressure rises, by holding your ground when everything in your mind whispers, maybe you should stop. Challenges are not signs you're failing. Challenges are signs you're growing. Every obstacle is a test of identity. Are you someone who quits early, or someone who finishes what they start? Most people quit because they misunderstand failure. They think failure means, I'm not good enough. But the people who never give up early see failure differently. Failure is information. Failure is feedback. Failure is part of the process. They don't collapse under it. They adjust. They adapt. They continue. Persistence is not blind effort. It's flexible effort. It's knowing that your commitment never changes, but your approach can. You don't give up. You try another way. You don't retreat. You rethink. You don't stop. You shift. Patience plays a massive role here. Real results take time. The world is obsessed with speed, but depth, the kind of depth that leads to mastery, cannot be rushed. When you develop patience, you create emotional space for success to grow. Your inner voice will tempt you to stop. It will tell you the work isn't paying off. It will highlight everyone who seems further ahead. It will ask, why keep going when it's not working yet? And your answer must be simple. Because I haven't finished. Because you respect the version of you that started. Because you believe in the version of you who will finish. Because the future you want requires this part of the journey. Discipline becomes your backbone. Motivation begins the race, but discipline finishes it. Discipline is what keeps you moving when motivation evaporates. It's what turns intention into habit, and habit into identity. And once persistence becomes part of your identity, quitting early stops being an option. It's no longer who you are. When things get difficult, return to your why. Why did you begin? What were you hoping to become? What does the future look like if you keep going? And what does it look like if you don't? Your why is an anchor. In storms, it keeps you steady. Support also matters. You don't have to do everything alone. Surround yourself with people who encourage forward motion. People who remind you of your strength when your own voice is shaky. But remember, support can assist you, not carry you. Your persistence must come from you. Visualize your success. See the finish line, even if it's far away. Imagine the moment you break through, the version of yourself who didn't quit early. Hold that image. Let it strengthen you. And don't forget to celebrate the small victories. They matter more than you think. Each small win is proof that you're capable of continuing. Each step forward, no matter how tiny, reinforces persistence. Emotionally, you'll face storms, frustration, confusion, disappointment. These are normal. Feel them, but don't obey them. Persistent people don't eliminate emotion. They manage it. Sometimes you'll need to adjust your plan. That's not quitting. That's intelligence. A flexible strategy with an unshakable commitment is unbeatable. Remember this truth. Quitting early costs more than failure ever will. Failure teaches you. Quitting robs you. When you refuse to give up early, you become a different kind of person. Someone who respects their goals, their effort, and their future. Someone who doesn't abandon themselves when the process gets tough. The road will challenge you. It's supposed to. But every step you take past the moment you wanted to quit is a step into the life you were meant to build. Keep going. Keep pushing. Keep fighting for the future that belongs to you. Become the person who never gives up early. And watch how your entire life transforms because of it. Chapter 11. Build a life that keeps expanding. There comes a moment in every journey when you realize something important. Progress isn't just about fixing what's wrong. It's about expanding what's possible. Up to this point, you've learned how to start where you are, how to take small steps, how to face the truth, how to work with what's real, and how to build consistency. These are the foundations. But foundations exist for a reason, so you can build upward. This chapter is about expansion, not the chaotic kind, not the overwhelming kind, the steady kind, the kind you grow into. Life expands when you expand, when your habits grow, when your effort deepens, when your mindset strengthens, when your standards rise. Most people try to expand their life without expanding themselves. They want bigger results with the same discipline. They want new opportunities with the same habits. They want a different future with the same mindset that created their past. But expansion doesn't work that way. Your life can only grow to the size of the person you're becoming. So the question becomes, how do you become someone whose life keeps getting bigger? 1. You expand by raising your standards, not in a dramatic external way, but in the quiet internal way that says, I don't accept the old version of effort anymore. Your standards determine your progress. Your standards determine your habits. Your standards determine what you tolerate, from yourself, from others, from your environment. Every time you raise your standards, your life adjusts to match them. 2. You expand by doing what you used to avoid. Growth often hides behind discomfort. The conversation you've been putting off, the responsibility you've been dodging, the habit you've refused to commit to. When you face what you used to run from, the world opens up. Your courage creates expansion. 3. You expand by choosing long-term over immediate relief. Short-term comfort is the enemy of long-term growth. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you expand. Every time you prioritize your goals over temporary feelings, you expand. Every time you show up on a day, when your mind tells you to take it easy, you expand. Consistency compounds, and what compounds expands. 4. You expand by surrounding yourself with growth-minded people. The people around you shape your expectations. They influence your standards, your focus, your discipline. When you place yourself in environments where growing is normal, expanding becomes natural. You don't rise by accident. You rise by association. 5. You expand by trusting the process, even when the process is slow. Life doesn't expand in straight lines. Sometimes the biggest growth is happening underground. Root work, identity work, foundation work. Just because you can't see progress doesn't mean it isn't happening. Expansion requires patience because true growth is rarely immediate. 6. You expand by taking ownership of your future. You are not waiting for permission anymore. You are not waiting for circumstances to be perfect. You are not waiting for motivation to magically appear. Your future expands the moment you decide that your effort, not your excuses, will shape what comes next. 7. You expand by thinking bigger without abandoning the present moment. Your dreams should stretch you, but your actions should ground you. Expansion is built from balance, a big vision supported by daily execution. One without the other collapses. 8. You expand by not shrinking when life challenges you. Every person who has ever grown has faced seasons of pressure. Pressure doesn't mean you're failing. Pressure often means you're being reshaped for the next level. Your job isn't to avoid pressure, it's to strengthen under it. Expansion isn't loud. It isn't dramatic. It doesn't happen in a single breakthrough moment. Expansion is steady, subtle, layered, repeated. It's built from the small things you do daily that create big shifts over time. Most people underestimate what they can build in a year because they overestimate what they can build in a day. Expansion honors the long game. It respects the pace of real transformation. Look at your life right now. Look at everything you've already begun. Look at the habits, the mindset shifts, the discipline building inside you. You're not the same person who started this journey. You're more aware, more capable, more grounded, more resilient. And because of that, your life is ready to expand with you. Keep raising your standards. Keep showing up. Keep taking ownership. Keep choosing the long game. Your life is not done growing. It's barely getting started. Chapter 12. Become the person your future depends on. There is a version of you that your future desperately needs. A version with stronger discipline, clearer focus, deeper courage, and a commitment that doesn't break at the first sign of difficulty. The life you want is not built by accident. It's built by identity, by who you decide to become every single day. Your future doesn't change because you want it to. It changes because you change. This final chapter is about stepping into that version of yourself. Not someday, not when life gets easier, but now. Because everything you've learned so far leads to one truth. Your future is waiting for a stronger version of you to show up. And the moment you start becoming that person, your life begins to shift in ways that once felt impossible. 1. Your future depends on a person who takes responsibility, not partial responsibility, not responsibility when it's convenient, full responsibility. This means your effort, your habits, your mindset, your emotional reactions, your time management, everything. The moment you start saying, "I'm responsible for the direction of my life," is the moment you stop being controlled by circumstances and start being guided by intention. Responsibility is not a weight, it's a weapon. It gives you power over your own future. 2. Your future depends on a person who follows through. Dreams don't require talent. They require follow-through. The difference between who you are and who you want to be is nothing more than consistent action, especially on the days when you don't feel like doing anything. Following through builds trust in yourself. And when you trust yourself, you become unstoppable. Most people don't fail because they don't know what to do. They fail because they don't do it long enough. Your future self needs you to continue long after your old self would have quit. 3. Your future depends on a person who can manage their emotions, not ignore them, not suppress them, manage them. Because emotions, left unchecked, can destroy a life. Anger can burn bridges you still need. Fear can shrink opportunities meant for you. Doubt can freeze progress you're ready to make. But when you learn to pause, breathe, and choose your response, you stop being ruled by the moment and start being guided by your purpose. Emotional discipline is a superpower. It builds maturity, leadership, and self-respect. 4. Your future depends on a person who keeps learning. The world changes too fast for you to stay the same. Your skills must grow. Your mindset must grow. Your awareness must grow. Learning is not something you finish. It's something you practice. Every new skill you build expands your opportunities. Every new insight you gain expands your perspective. Every new piece of knowledge strengthens your resilience. A learning mind is a rising mind. 5. Your future depends on a person who doesn't negotiate with excuses. Excuses feel comforting, but they cost your future the most. Excuses steal time. Excuses weaken discipline. Excuses slowly turn into regret. The person your future needs is someone who hears the excuses, acknowledges them, and moves anyway. You don't overcome excuses by arguing with them. You overcome them by acting in spite of them. 6. Your future depends on a person who protects their environment. Your space affects your focus. Your habits affect your energy. Your circle affects your standards. Your future self needs you to remove the distractions that slow your growth, the people who drain your ambition, and the environments that limit your potential. You don't rise in environments built for comfort. You rise in environments built for growth. 7. Your future depends on a person who refuses to abandon themselves. This is the deepest truth of all. Most people quit not because life gets too hard, but because they stop believing they can handle hard things. They turn against themselves. They lose patience with themselves. They outsource their power to circumstances, emotions, or other people. But the version of you who creates an extraordinary future never abandons themselves. They show up when they're tired. They encourage themselves when they're discouraged. They stay committed when their confidence wavers. They return to the path even after falling off of it. They don't wait for someone to save them. They save themselves, again and again. 8. Your future depends on a person who understands this. You are the project. Not your goals, not your achievements, not the things you want to build. You are the project. Because when you become stronger, your life gets better. When you become more disciplined, your path gets easier. When you become more focused, your results get bigger. When you raise your standards, everything around you shifts. Improve yourself, and everything you touch transforms with you. The final truth. There is no secret to success. There is only identity. The future belongs to the person who keeps showing up, keeps growing, keeps expanding, keeps learning, keeps trusting, keeps trying, and refuses to let their old limitations define their new life. You are that person now, not someday, not later, now. Your future is waiting for you, not the hesitant version, not the fearful version, not the inconsistent version, but the committed, disciplined, focused version. Step into that identity and build the life that only you can build. Chapter 14. Your new life will be built in silence first. Before anyone sees your progress, before the results appear, before your confidence grows, before your identity shifts, there is a long, quiet season where everything happens unseen. This chapter is about that invisible season, the one no one celebrates, no one applauds, no one posts about. The season where real transformation begins. People think change starts when the world notices. But the truth is, the world only notices when the work is already done. Your new life is built quietly. In early mornings, in late nights, in decisions no one knows you made. In battles no one sees you fight. In habits no one celebrates. In discipline no one thanks you for. This silent season is not a punishment. It's preparation. 1. Silence is where your discipline is forged. When no one is watching, it's easy to cut corners. It's easy to lie to yourself. It's easy to settle for good enough. But the person you become in silence is the person you will be in public. If you can be disciplined in the dark, you will be unstoppable in the light. This is why champions train alone, why creators practice before anyone believes in them, why leaders build strength when no one cares yet. Your silent season is where your character hardens, your resolve deepens, and your identity matures. 2. Silence protects you from noise, comparison, and pressure. Growth requires focus, and focus requires quiet. When you start talking too early about your plans, you invite opinions, doubts, jealousy, comparison, and distractions that can derail you before you've even begun. Your dreams don't need an audience right now. They need attention. They need commitment. They need protection. Let your goals expand quietly until they are too strong to be shaken by outside voices. 3. Silence teaches you how to rely on yourself. Most people collapse when praise disappears. When people stop watching, they stop trying. When applause fades, their effort fades with it. But you are building something deeper, something self-driven, something internal. When you can push yourself without recognition, without compliments, without applause, without witnesses, you build a kind of strength that nothing can take away. Self-respect grows in silence because silence forces you to see who you really are. Not the version you perform for the world, but the version you are when no one is looking. 4. Silence forces you to confront your patterns honestly. Without noise, distraction, or external validation, you can finally see yourself clearly. You notice your excuses. You notice your procrastination. You notice your emotional triggers. You notice how often you break promises to yourself. And because you can see these patterns, you can finally change them. Real accountability is not about someone watching over you. It's about you watching yourself. That honesty births growth. 5. Silence is where your momentum starts. People wait for motivation. People wait for signs. People wait for someone to push them. But momentum begins with private choices. The first workout no one saw. The first chapter you wrote. The first dollar you saved. The first habit you kept. The first boundary you set. The first 10 days you didn't quit. Momentum is built on tiny, invisible wins. Wins that accumulate quietly until one day they explode into visible transformation. 6. Silence is how you avoid the trap of performing growth instead of creating growth. Right now, everyone online wants to look like they're improving. Everyone wants to show their progress more than they want to earn it. But you're not here to perform. You're here to build. Silence frees you from the pressure to impress. It frees you from comparison. It frees you from the need to prove anything. It lets you grow authentically, slowly, steadily, honestly. When the growth is real, you won't need to convince anyone. Your life will speak for itself. 7. Silence ends when the results appear. Here is the beautiful part. You won't be in the silent season forever. Silence is temporary. Results are permanent. And the moment your results show up, the moment your consistency takes shape, the moment your identity aligns with your effort, you won't have to explain your transformation. People will notice. People will ask how you did it. People will assume it happened suddenly. But you will know the truth. You built it in silence. You built it in moments no one applauded. You built it when no one believed in you. You built it when it felt like no progress was happening at all. And that truth will make the results even sweeter. The silent season is sacred. There will be days in this season when you question yourself, when you feel unseen, when you feel like nothing is changing, when it feels pointless. But remember, the roots grow long before the tree appears. The foundation is laid long before the building rises. The character is built long before the success arrives. Your silent season is not a pause in your life. It is your life choosing a new direction. So, stay steady, stay consistent, stay committed, stay patient. Because when this season ends, you won't just have new results. You'll have a new identity. And once that identity is built, nothing and no one will be able to take your growth away. Chapter 15. Walk into the life you've been building. There comes a point, after the discipline, after the small wins, after the mindset shifts, after the silent season, when something profound happens. You finally step into the life you've been preparing for. Not in theory, not in hope, not in planning, but in reality. This final chapter is about crossing that threshold, from potential into embodiment, from trying into becoming, from effort into identity. This is the moment your inner transformation begins to show on the outside. 1. Your life starts changing the moment you start living like the person you've become. Growth doesn't fully activate until you act as the new version of yourself. Not occasionally, not when you feel motivated, but daily. You speak differently. You move differently. You decide differently. You commit differently. You no longer behave like the old you, because the old you doesn't fit where you're going. This is not about fake it till you make it. This is be it. while you build it. Your new life is not waiting for permission. It's waiting for alignment. 2. You stop choosing what's easy and start choosing what's right. The person you were used to avoid discomfort. The person you are becoming understands something deeper. Easy choices create hard lives. Hard choices create strong lives. You stop running from effort. You stop negotiating with discipline. You stop thinking short-term. You stop treating your future like an afterthought. Instead, you choose responsibility over blame, discipline over impulse, consistency over intensity, long-term reward over short-term relief. This is maturity. This is self-respect. This is the beginning of a stronger life. 3. You begin protecting your peace like it is part of your success. Because it is. Your peace determines your clarity. Your clarity determines your decisions. Your decisions determine your future. You stop letting people drain your energy. You stop giving time to chaos. You stop explaining your boundaries. You stop apologizing for choosing yourself. Your peace becomes non-negotiable, because anything that costs your peace eventually costs your progress. 4. You realize you are no longer interested in your old patterns. The habits that once felt normal now feel heavy. The distractions that once felt fun now feel empty. The people who once kept you stuck no longer feel aligned. The environments that once felt comfortable now feel limiting. You don't force this shift. You outgrow it. Growth isn't always a loud breakthrough. Sometimes it's simply losing interest in what used to hold you back. 5. You start trusting yourself again, and that changes everything. One of the most powerful transformations in life is rebuilding trust in yourself. Trust that you will follow through. Trust that you will stay consistent. Trust that you will handle challenges. Trust that you won't abandon yourself again. When you trust yourself, your confidence becomes real, not performative, not fragile, not dependent on approval. Self-trust is the foundation of a strong identity. A strong identity is the foundation of a strong future. 6. Your habits finally match your goals. Most people have goals their habits can't support. But not you. Not anymore. You've built discipline. You've built structure. You've built momentum. You've built identity. Now your daily actions and your long-term dreams point in the same direction. This alignment is what most people never reach. When your habits and goals agree, progress accelerates. Life becomes simpler. You stop fighting yourself and start working with yourself. 7. You no longer chase motivation. You create inevitability. Motivation is a spark, but systems are the fire. You've built routines that carry you even when motivation disappears. You've built consistency that keeps you grounded. You've built identity that makes giving up feel foreign. This is why your new life unfolds naturally. Not by force, not by luck, but by design. 8. You accept that discomfort is part of the journey, but struggle is not your identity. You will still face challenges. You will still have slow days. You will still experience doubt. But the difference now is, you don't crumble. You don't spiral. You don't break your momentum. You don't quit early. You handle what comes, not from survival mode, but from strength. The same storms that once shook you now sharpen you. 9. You begin attracting what you once had to chase, because you've become the kind of person who can carry it. Opportunities show up. People respect you. Consistency pays off. Momentum compounds. Life starts meeting you at the level you've risen to. You don't manifest from hope. You manifest from alignment. You attract what reflects your identity, not your wishes. And now your identity is strong. 10. You finally step into the life that once felt out of reach. Not because you got lucky, not because circumstances magically shifted, not because someone rescued you, but because you did the work. You showed up. You transformed. You built the inner world first, and now the outer world matches it. Everything you've built, the discipline, the resilience, the clarity, the self-respect, the commitment, has prepared you for this moment. You're not becoming anymore. You are. This is the life you've been building. Step into it fully, proudly, completely. And remember, your future expands as far as you do. Keep growing, keep elevating, keep becoming. The journey doesn't end here. This is where it truly begins. Chapter 16. Nothing changes until you do. Every strategy, every routine, every habit, every mindset shift in this audiobook points to one truth. Your life transforms the moment you transform. Not when circumstances finally cooperate. Not when motivation magically appears. Not when people suddenly support you. Not when the timing feels perfect. Your life changes when you change. This final chapter is a reminder and a challenge. The results you want are already possible, already available, already within reach. But they require a different version of you to show up. This is where you stop collecting wisdom and start embodying it. 1. Change doesn't start with action. It starts with identity. People try to change their life by changing what they do. But lasting transformation comes from changing who you believe you are. If you see yourself as inconsistent, you'll act inconsistently. If you see yourself as weak, you'll avoid challenges. If you see yourself as unprepared, you'll delay action. Your behavior always follows your identity. So ask yourself, who do I need to become to live the life I want? Then start acting like that person before you feel ready. Identity shapes action. Action shapes outcomes. Outcomes shape your life. 2. Change requires choosing responsibility over excuses. Excuses are easy. Excuses are comfortable. Excuses feel justified. But excuses silently kill your potential. You can't change your life and protect your excuses at the same time. Taking responsibility is not about blame. It's about power. When you take responsibility, you reclaim control over your future. You remove the limits you once placed on yourself. You stop waiting and start creating. Your life begins the moment you stop pointing outward and start looking inward. 3. Change requires abandoning the identity that keeps you small. There is an old version of you that cannot come with you into your new life. The version that procrastinates. The version that avoids discomfort. The version that self-sabotages. The version that overthinks. The version that breaks promises to yourself. The version that hesitates. That version kept you safe, but it also kept you stuck. Letting go of an old identity feels uncomfortable. But so is staying in a life beneath your potential. You outgrow who you've been by consistently choosing who you want to become. 4. Change requires emotional self-mastery. Most people are controlled by their feelings. I don't feel motivated. I don't feel confident. I don't feel ready. But feelings are states, not orders. You can feel resistance and still take action. You can feel fear and still move forward. You can feel doubt and still follow through. Real power comes from doing what needs to be done, even when your emotions disagree. When you stop waiting for the right feeling, you stop delaying your life. 5. Change requires consistency, not perfection. Perfect days don't change your life. Consistent days do. Everyone can be excellent once. Few people can be consistent every day. Consistency compounds. It builds trust in yourself. It creates invisible momentum. It transforms who you are internally, before anything shows externally. Your life responds to what you do repeatedly, not what you do occasionally. 6. Change requires you to stop seeking permission. No one else will tell you when it's time to rise. No one else will tell you when you're ready. No one else will feel the urgency you feel inside. This is your life, your responsibility, your opportunity. Waiting for approval is waiting for delay, and delay slowly becomes a lifetime. You don't need permission to grow. You don't need permission to improve. You don't need permission to change direction. Your future begins when you say it does. 7. Change requires deciding, really deciding, not wishing, not hoping, not trying, deciding. A real decision eliminates alternatives. A real decision says, I'm done living the old way. I'm committed to this path. I will not negotiate with my goals. I will follow through no matter how I feel. Once you decide, life responds differently. Opportunities appear. Momentum builds. Your identity shifts. Your habits align. Decisions create direction. Direction creates meaning. Meaning creates transformation. 8. Change requires believing you can handle what comes next. You don't need certainty. You need confidence in your ability to adapt. You've survived every hard day in your life so far. You've overcome things you once thought would break you. You've grown through every challenge you didn't ask for. And now you're building strength intentionally, not just reactively. Trust yourself. Trust your discipline. Trust your resilience. Trust that you can become the person your future needs. You've already proven you can grow. Now prove you can keep growing. The final door. Every chapter before this has prepared you for a simple but profound realization. Your future is not waiting on better circumstances. It's waiting on a better you, a more disciplined you, a more focused you, a more courageous you, a more consistent you, a more self-respecting you, a more intentional you. Nothing changes until you do, but once you change, everything does. This is the moment you stop thinking about transformation and start living it. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when things calm down. Now, you are ready. You are capable. You are built for more. Step forward and let the world adjust to the person you are becoming. Chapter 18. Your future begins the moment you refuse to go back. Every journey reaches a crossroads, a moment when you realize you cannot return to who you used to be, not because it's impossible, but because it no longer fits the person you're becoming. This chapter is about that irreversible moment, the moment your past loses its power, the moment your old patterns lose their appeal, the moment your fears lose their authority, the moment you step out of who you were and refuse to shrink back, no matter how uncomfortable growth becomes. This chapter is about commitment at a deeper level, the commitment to never return to what once held you back. 1. The past is familiar, but familiar is not freedom. People return to old habits because they feel comfortable, not because they feel right. Comfort can keep you stuck for decades. Comfort can make you tolerate things you've outgrown. Comfort can trick you into living a small life. But you are not here to live a small life. You are here to rise. Your past may feel familiar, but it cannot take you anywhere you haven't already been. Your future requires courage, and courage only activates when you step beyond what you know. 2. You can't build a new life with old choices. If you return to old habits, you return to old outcomes. If you return to old thinking, you return to old limitations. If you return to old environments, you return to old cycles. Your new life is not built by upgrading your intentions. It's built by upgrading your decisions. The moment you tell yourself, I'm done going backwards, your brain begins to form a new identity around that commitment. Identity changes everything. 3. Refusing to go back is the strongest act of self-respect. There is a version of you who tolerated too much noise, too much chaos, too many excuses, too much emotional inconsistency, too many people who drained your energy, too many habits that pulled you away from your potential. But that version of you no longer exists. When you refuse to go back, you're telling your mind, I deserve better, and I will no longer participate in my own suffering. Self-respect is not a feeling. It's a line you draw. A line that says, my future is worth protecting. 4. Going back is always easier, but easy does not build anything meaningful. The path backward will always be wide, bright, and tempting. It will feel effortless. It will feel familiar. It will feel safe, but it leads nowhere. Forward is harder, narrower, slower, quieter. But forward is where your breakthroughs live. Forward is where your strength grows. Forward is where your discipline becomes real. Forward is where your life finally begins to reflect your potential. The discomfort of forward is temporary. The regret of going back is permanent. 5. When you stop going back, your identity catches up with your ambition. Your goals are only achievable when your identity matches them. If you dream big but think small, you go nowhere. If your ambition is strong but your habits are weak, you stall. If your vision is clear but your discipline is inconsistent, you keep starting over. But when you stop returning to old patterns, your identity begins to shift. You become the person who follows through. You become the person who stays focused. You become the person who doesn't break promises to yourself. You become the person your future requires. Identity creates consistency. Consistency creates results. Results create transformation. 6. The world reorganizes itself around a person who refuses to go backwards. When your commitment becomes unshakable, life adjusts to meet you at that level. People treat you differently. Opportunities show up. Momentum increases. Your standards elevate. Your environment shifts. Your habits strengthen. Your confidence rises. Your voice becomes clearer. Your direction becomes undeniable. Life bends around those who refuse to shrink back into old versions of themselves. 7. The only way to not go back is to keep moving, no matter how small the step. Forward is forward. Small steps still count. Slow progress is still progress. Quiet effort still reshapes your future. Stagnation invites the past to return. Movement keeps you anchored to the future. Take the smallest step you can take today. Then take another tomorrow. This is how you stay out of the old chapter. Not by force, but by continuous motion. 8. Your future begins the moment you shut the door behind you. Every journey has a door you must close. The door to doubt, the door to inconsistency, the door to procrastination, the door to excuses, the door to old patterns, the door to who you used to be. Closing the door is scary because it means there's no turning back. But it also means this: you are free. Free to grow. Free to evolve. Free to rise. Free to become the person you were always meant to be. The point of no return. This is not the chapter where you try harder. This is the chapter where you become someone new. Someone who does not negotiate with the past. Someone who does not collapse into old habits. Someone who does not let fear pull them backward. Someone who does not abandon themselves for comfort. This is the chapter where you say, I'm not going back. Not mentally, not emotionally, not behaviorally, not spiritually, not ever. Once you make that decision, truly make it, your future begins immediately. Because the moment you refuse to go back, you start walking into a life that looks nothing like the one you left behind. This is where your new life truly begins. If you've reached this point, something inside you has already changed. Not because you finished an audiobook, but because you refused to walk away from the version of yourself you know you can become. This is not an ending. This is a decision to stop shrinking, stop waiting, and stop returning to habits that kept you small. The truth is simple. Your life will not change until you do. And now, you know exactly how to change it. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do small things consistently. Face your truth. Choose discipline over impulse. Protect your peace. Refuse to go back to the patterns you've outgrown. Build in silence until your results make the noise. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be committed. There will be days you feel tired, unsure, unmotivated. Go anyway. Your future depends on the choices you make when things are hard, not when they're easy. Every small step forward rewires your identity. Every promise you keep to yourself builds the confidence you once thought you lacked. The life you want isn't far away. It's on the other side of your next choice. Walk into this new chapter with clarity, courage, and an unshakable belief that you are built for more. Because you are. And this, right here, is where your new life truly begins. Thank you for listening with an open mind and heart. If a certain chapter or insight resonated most with you, share it in the comments. You might help someone else find exactly what they need today. Keep this book saved so you can return to its words whenever life calls for reflection or guidance. I wish you health, peace, and wisdom in every step you take.